lot of growth in our market, but also we have an average commute time of 24 minutes. That's because we have major infrastructure that's here. We want to make sure that infrastructure is good for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. What's the point of getting all of these great tier one organizations in our community and we can't get the economic multiplier effect off of it?
That's the voice of Marvin Price, Executive Vice President of Economic Development for the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce. He's kicking off our newest season of the pod, sharing about all the recent success in Greensboro. From big wins to boomerangs and recruiting them back to town, you're sure to pick up tips for identifying target industries, making sure you have the right infrastructure for growth, and way more. You can learn more about this podcast at livabilitymedia.com. And with that, let's jump in. Marvin, welcome to Inside America's Best Cities. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm truly honored to be on this distinguished podcast.
Well, we're kicking off our season strong with you, first episode of 2025, here to talk about a really awesome place, Greensboro, North Carolina, where you're based.
Yeah, the borough where we keep things thorough.
I love that. So I wanted to kick off a little bit. I know, so you've been in your role a few years now, right?
Yeah, 4 years.
And came from elsewhere in North Carolina, Charlotte. So
Yeah,
making the
yeah,
rounds of the state.
yeah. Came to the state of North Carolina in 2016. Amazing experience. As you can tell from the southern charm in my voice, I'm from the South. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. So what brought me to North Carolina was the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance. And during COVID, I made the transition to Greensboro, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since.
Well, we also love Birmingham, so lots of great community mentions here. I got the opportunity to go to Birmingham on a press trip as well late last year, and loved that too. So we got a lot of great places here in our region.
Yeah.
So how has working with both Charlotte and Greensboro really enhanced your perception of the entire state? Like, do you think it was easier to settle in this role because you already worked in the state a little bit, or like not really different than if you'd moved from a city outside of the state? I know economic developers tend to sometimes move around to different communities a lot. So just wanted to get your perspective on that piece of it.
Yeah, hands down, it was an easier transition having worked in North Carolina or working in the city of Charlotte or in that region because some of the incentive programs, some of the state statutes, they govern the state, right? So what you can do legally in Charlotte, you can do legally in Greensboro. But just understanding how the ecosystem around economic development works in the state, it was an easy transition, but also people may feel that Charlotte is just huge comparatively speaking to Greensboro, but when you think about having a downtown or what Charlotte would say uptown, having different markets, having different amenities throughout the city, throughout the counties that they represent, they're the same, right? You're going to have different walks, different things for different individuals. You may just have a tad bit more in Charlotte because it's almost double the size.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, a couple of target industries that I know you're focusing on in Greensboro. So, aerospace and life sciences, to name a few. Were those already sort of a focus when you came in, or something that you've really honed in on more?
Well, no, I'm gonna say that, especially from aerospace. Aerospace has been tried and true in the triad and in Greensboro is specifically for years, for decades. So we've already had that emphasis, and we've just been very lucky and successful, even prior to me being here. And also with life sciences, that's been a focus of our region and our community, but we've been laser focused on it right now. And we've had some amazing economic development announcements that indicate the growth in those two particular sectors for our community.
So, talk more about why those industries. I mean, it sounds like life sciences is sort of the newer focus of the two.
Well, I think it's because of the community and the diversity of it. So when you think about Greensboro and you think about the colleges that we have from UNCG, Bennett, North Carolina A&T, High Point University, so the amount of talent that's coming out of this community and throughout this region, it only makes sense, right? So when you look for high tech companies in life sciences, they're looking for quality talent. They're looking for the synergies and the infrastructure to make that happen. So to have individuals graduating with chemistry degrees, with life sciences degrees like biology or anything around that sector, pharmacy especially, those are opportunities for our community to retain that talent. And if you have the talent, then of course those companies are interested. But even if you look at the precipice of this ecosystem of life sciences for North Carolina, most people will say that's in the research triangle. And to know that we're literally only 90 minutes away from Raleigh, where that core in that center is, it just makes sense that it's coming this way, right? So we're right there in this sweet spot between Charlotte and Raleigh where we're able to continue to grow. As you see those metros growing outwardly, they're coming our way. And us having the labor force, having the quality of life where a home here is significantly more affordable than anywhere else in some of these major cities or major states. If you look at the third largest city in Texas or California or New York or Illinois, those home prices are
Woo.
considerably higher, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at us, that proximity, of course, a company is going to consider us. So that's why I think we've been able to grow that partnership and what we're doing. And we just launched through Guilford Tech Community College a biomanufacturing degree. So to really hone in on that 2 year college as well, that training to really go into work into life sciences is really going to help super speed us, if you will. Super speed. I don't know why I use super speed, but it's going to really
Turbocharge.
turbocharge us or just accelerate our growth in this industry sector.
Super speed, though. I like it.
Yeah.
So, thinking about those target industries, what advice would you have for other economic developers in identifying those? So, is it more like, thinking about the chicken and the egg thing, like thinking about what you want and working backwards, thinking about what you have and what industries that's going to appeal to the most?
I think you can do it either way, but I think the easiest way to go about things is to look at it from what you already have and what does that align with. So for us, aerospace is a highly skilled profession. You have to be certified. You're working on things that cannot malfunction because people can lose their lives, right?
Yeah. Most people don't have a risk of dying without related to our office hours.
Yeah, my office job, I don't have if I make a mistake, it's not the end of someone's life.
Yeah.
But when you deal with aerospace industries, the tolerance levels for some of the certifications and things that they have to have, it only makes sense if this is the kind of talent that we have in this market. When you look at life sciences in the level of testing and things that they have to do, it's a natural fit for our community. So that's what I mean by looking at what you already have and how you can make that relate. We already have a Research 2 university on track to become a Research 1 university. So that makes sense. Well, we have a major engineering institution, North Carolina A&T. Well, they're doing all of this engineering, but they also have laboratories. They also have chemists graduating. So again, that synergy there. High Point University just started a pharmacy program. Again, all of these different things are playing in on one another. Guilford Tech Community College is notorious for the quality of the students that they're graduating. So knowing that we're trying to grow in our life sciences sector, for them to get approved to do a new degree for biomanufacturing, that's it just connects, right? But to go directly to what you're saying, how you reverse engineer this, look at what you already have. Look at the industries that you already have and look at where they're going. What is the industry saying that they're about to transition to? And that's how you can help to identify that sector. If you guys are in food and beverage is highly regulated. That makes sense. If you are looking at food and beverage, there's an opportunity there then to transition that same labor force because they have those regulations. What is another highly regulated industry? Life science could easily be one.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thinking about how to connect the dots in that way.
Yeah.
So, there have been a lot of wins that you all have had during your time, and I feel like a real lot comparative even to other mid sized markets, which is awesome. So, this is probably going to be like picking a favorite child type question, but is there one of those that sticks out? I know they're all exciting, but is there one that sticks out that you've been maybe most excited about?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I gotta tell you, like, but also I think every parent is lying when they say they don't have a favorite child. Because clearly I'm my mother's favorite.
The theory I've heard about the favorite child is that there's always a favorite child, and if you don't know who it is, it's you. But I'm an only child, so I don't know. That means makes me automatically the favorite.
Well, I would say one of the most exciting projects, or the one that I'm ready for the most, it would have to be Marshall Aerospace. Marshall Aerospace is investing over 40 something odd $1 million in creating over 200 jobs. And they're going to be doing the maintenance, repair, and overhaul for the C-130s. If you've ever seen a C-130, it's massive. So to know the level of skill set that has to go into repairing that kind of aircraft, I think that's going to really be a star for us in our community. And to see that plane flying in on a daily basis or monthly basis after it's been repaired, I think is going to be a badge of honor in our community. I think every kid when they were little wanted to fly, and to know that we've located a company where things are taking off, it just reminds you of your childhood. So I'm
Taking
really
off literally.
yeah, so it just, I think it's really cool.
So, we talked a little bit already about selling points of the community, and you're welcome to add anything onto some of what you've already said there. But love to hear more about not only that, but what are some struggles or challenges that you guys are working on, either from like more of a site selection, businesses coming in standpoint, or a talent standpoint, like some things you're working on.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we have the infrastructure for the foreseeable future, the capacity that we have there. Like one of the cool things, or we've been very successful, so we've had a lot of growth in our market, but also we have an average commute time of 24 minutes. That's because we have major infrastructure that's here. We want to make sure that infrastructure is good for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years in our community. We want to build capacity of our roadways. We want to make sure that our water and sewer has the capacity to continue to get these wins, because what's the point of getting all of these great tier one organizations in our community and we can't get the economic multiplier effect off of it?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so that's some of the things that we're working on. The roadways, getting our interstates upgraded, but also one of the key things is really trying to expand the water and sewer capacity that we currently have here. And that's going to be a challenge. If we can't get that done, if we can't continue to build on the regional model to make sure that not only is Greensboro going to be set, but this region is going to be set from a capacity standpoint, we're going to be stuck in the mud.
Yeah. I guess you can't get too far without enough sewer capacity for everybody.
Yeah, you kind of need that.
Kind of important. But you're right, like the nuts and bolts of that and of having that population growth is so key. And it's a really important part of talent attraction that we don't always talk about as much because it's not as shiny and fun as, recruitment programs and incentives and things like that. But very
Yeah, no,
important.
talent and traction in our community is at the forefront. The livability, if you will, shameless plug. But you, what we're doing right now is what you can see with our downtown and also with our housing stock. We want to make sure we're diversifying the housing stock. Everyone doesn't want to live in a single family detached home. Some people want to live in a renovated old textile mill. Some people want to live in a loft. Some people want the downtown condo living. We want to make sure we have a walk of life for everyone where you have diversity of housing, but also being able to bring that talent here. We want to create that stickiness factor. We just recently opened up a Top Golf. I'm not saying people only stay here just because of Top Golf, but it's a great amenity to have. and we're adding more restaurants to the community. We also see a lot of new shops coming into Friendly Center, which is not too far from downtown Greensboro, but we also see a ton of growth coming into our downtown. So when you talk about talent attraction and creating that livability, those are some of the things that we're doing in the market. But we also have an amazing campaign that we're running and have been running since 2021, which is called the Boomerang campaign. Have you
Yep.
guys heard of it?
Yep, I love that. I've actually used that example in several presentations that I've given on this topic, and that was something I wanted to ask you about to share a little bit about it.
That program is amazing. So the Boomerang campaign started in 2021, and thus far it has brought 95 families to Greensboro. The whole premise of it is that we are trying to talk to people that already have an affinity to Greensboro, meaning that they've either worked, they've went to school in this community, so they know a little bit about it already and have experienced all of the great things and maybe not so great things about the community. But the cool thing is, if you went to, let's say, Bennett College and you've graduated and you went to Chicago, now we're reaching out or someone is telling us, hey, we would really love for this individual to be back in the community. We think they would really love some of the changes that have happened in Greensboro. We're sending them a box, basically giving them some information, some factoids, if you will, about the cost of living in Chicago versus the cost of living in Greensboro. We're talking to them about housing. We're talking to them about the job market. Now, we're not going to get them a direct job or negotiate their salary or anything to relocate. So it's a white glove service in the sense of let's tell you about the schools, let's tell you about the neighborhoods, let's tell you about all the new amenities that we have now since you left. So we can get you to Boomerang and come back home.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it taps into something, we do a lot of research at Livability on, what people look for when they make moves, what plays into how we end up where we're living and working. And, that's a huge part of it, like where your family is. And a lot of times where you grew up, is tied into that. And so I love the intentional campaign of tapping into that. Are they still using the, you grew up, so did Greensboro tagline
Yeah,
also? Yep.
absolutely.
So I love the work happening there. And that's under the Action Greensboro arm, right? Of
Yeah, so Action Greensboro is a sister organization to the Greensboro Chamber and being led by an amazing woman, Cecilia. She does amazing work for this community. We're really lucky to have her and she's a visionary, honestly. This is her baby, her brainchild, and we've been able to do some amazing things with it.
Yeah. So let's back up just a little bit with one more question. We were talking about aerospace earlier as a target industry. As I was researching for this interview, I found an article where you were quoted as saying, maybe we're not the aerospace capital of the South, maybe we're the transportation innovation capital of the South. And I wanted to have you expand on that quote a little bit.
Yeah, so when I think about being the transportation innovation capital of the South, when you think about the new fuel that is going to supply vehicles, cars for the future, you look at batteries. Well, we have Toyota battery here. If you look at aviation and getting these planes across the country, well, we have Boom Supersonic, we have Honda Aircraft, we have Marshall Aerospace, we have HAECO. When you look at trains down in Davidson County, you have Siemens. So when you think about transportation and the innovation that's going on around that industry, it's happening here more than any place else in the South. So that's what I mean by that tagline. We are the transportation innovation capital of the South, and you can quote me on that.
And they did. And we will too. No, I liked it. I liked how you flipped the question a little bit. And as we were talking about before we got in the interview, that you do a lot of interviews. So we could see
Yeah.
you're well practiced at that. Well, I always like to wrap up with more of a fun question. But before we get there, no, we've talked about target industries. We've talked about a little bit about talent attraction, the boomerangs, infrastructure for talent attraction. Anything else you'd want to add on any of the topics we've covered?
Yeah, I would just say Being able to achieve this success isn't because of me at all. And I think as economic developers, we sometimes, as you when you start thinking that, oh, it's I'm a good economic developer, and I just want to make sure it's kind of known that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants and our elected officials. I've been so blessed and fortunate that our elected officials are pro business. They understand what this community needs, and they've been willing to invest not only their time but the funds of this community to really push economic growth and doing the things necessary to make sure we win. Think about it for a second. We have an outer loop in Greensboro. Charlotte didn't finish its outer loop until it was well over 800,000 citizens. We're not even at 315. I think that is a testament to the forward thinking that our elected officials needed. So, if there's any takeaway that I would like to give to other economic development practitioners, is making sure that your elected officials understand the vision, understands what's necessary to win.
Yeah. Well, if they don't, you can't really get anywhere, right? Because you alone in an economic development role couldn't change everything single handedly that could need to be adjusted to
No,
win projects.
no, you're absolutely right. Economic development is a team sport, and honestly, having an effective leadership group, your elected officials, if you will, that's like having a good coaching staff.
Hmm. I mean, it seems like it'd be impossible, really, to have any success in a community if you don't have those good relationships and that openness, you know?
No, absolutely.
So, our fun wrap up question. First of all, I just want to say that a lot of people ask me, as well as our managing editor at Livability, you write and cover so many places, like, where would you live if you moved? Or, like, are there places that stick out to you? And I have to say, I mean, I love Tennessee. We talked about me being based in Tennessee, but North Carolina does have a lot of great cities. So, I feel like that would be maybe up there if I ever decided to make a change, which is awesome. So many good places to choose from. So I always like to ask our guests if there was one like off the beat one or a couple like off the beaten path bucket list items. If someone were coming to visit for the first time, what would you say, is something that they should do or a couple of things?
Wow. I would first off tell them, number one, you gotta stay at the proximity hotel. That's the first thing. It is truly it's an experience in itself. Like when you walk in there, it's weird that they're so nice. But the one thing that I would tell someone that they have to experience, you have to come to the Civil Rights Museum downtown. It is an amazing experience. It's well curated. It gives you the history, but it also at the end it brings about this optimism around the what is this city going to become, and it leaves you feeling like you can change the world. And that's what I love about it. It's not just, oh my god, this was such a horrible time in our city's history and in this country, and it's just done. No, it leaves you feeling like we truly have the best days ahead of us. So I think that's another really cool spot. And also, you gotta go to Lake Jeanette. Like, you gotta go. It's just the thing. It's a vibe. It's the energy.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Marvin, for helping kick off our podcast season and spending some time.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I want to say thank you to the entire team at the Greensboro Chamber. None of the things that we're able to do in economic development could be done without this amazing team and the team that's on the economic development team. From all of them, they are amazing, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Team sport. I love it.
Yeah, let's go Greensboro.
Thanks for listening to the Livability Podcast, where we take you inside America's best cities. At Livability, we highlight the unsung awesomeness of small and mid-sized cities across the country. We also partner with communities to reach their target companies and potential residents through digital content and print magazine programs. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, rate, and review this show wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also learn more about us at livabilitymedia.com. Have an idea for an upcoming episode? Email me at aellis@livability.com. Until next time, from Livability, I'm Amanda Ellis, sharing the stories of America's most promising places.